Hey guys, so welcome to Soulful Scribbles. Sorry, my hair's still drying. I had a shower. But this is my journal from I think it's, wait, let me check. Yeah, so 2021 to, I think I finished it at the beginning of this year. Yeah, I did. So I've had it for a few years. I only really journal when I feel like I need to. But yeah, I've got some stickers on it. This one's really important to me. The Little Prince. I think it's like one of the most beautiful books ever read. And like butterflies, I love butterflies. And this here reminds me of like a character, I think like Ebony or something, like from some childhood thing. I think it was a show. I'm not too sure, but yeah, it reminds me of that, or it is actually that, and I just have no idea. It's like a very vague, loose memory. But yeah, so in this little like episode, I wanted to read some of my life lessons that I've learned in my 20s. So wait, let me just find the page that I want to read. Okay, yeah. So lessons I've learned in my 20s so far. So the first one we have here is don't lose sight of friendships when in romantic relationships. This is a really big one for me. I often find that like I'm just like very one person at a time, like in my life pretty much. Like I always have like a best friend that I go to for everything, or like a partner that I go to for everything. I'm just like one person to interact with. That's like enough socialization for me. But yeah, I kind of lose sight of my close friendships, which is obviously not ideal, and you should not be doing that. Don't stop loving yourself, and don't fall into insecurity and feelings of worthlessness. This is a really big one for me. I used to really struggle with my self-worth and like thought I was like not worthy of anything, and I was super insecure. Like having the confidence to do this and like put it online is just like would be so like out of the question, like from my prior mindset. But I feel like something that really has helped me stop falling into insecurity is listening to, okay, so it's on Spotify. His name is Stephen Webb, and he has the most like soothing, comforting voice. And it's called Inner Peace Meditations, and he has like a whole bunch of them. And I like to play them like when I sleep. So that it's just like all kind of going into like my subconscious. But yeah, I'm more intentional with my meditating when I'm like, it's like during the day and there's like a specific meditation that I like feel I need, like an anxiety one, or like a self-worth one, or a confidence one. He's literally got everything. It's the best. And his voice is the best. You should seriously try it out. But I feel like that and listening to it in my sleep, so it's just like constantly like going through my mind, has like kind of stopped me from falling into insecurity. Like I don't want to say like I never do anymore, because that's probably like not true, but like it really helps. So that's something I'd recommend. Don't stay with someone who doesn't see your worth or isn't willing to commit. That's a really big one. For me especially. Feeling lonely is normal, but don't shut yourself up and feel sorry for yourself. Sign up to new things, try new hobbies, even when it's hard. That's really important, I think, because I think when people get a little bit lonely or isolated, they choose to just like withdraw completely. And I had this phase like last year. I just felt so alone. My close friend had moved overseas, and I was kind of like friends with her friends, so I was always like doing things with them, but like I didn't feel like comfortable like reaching out when she was gone, because they were like her friends, not my friends. And like, so I was just like really lonely and like isolated, and I kind of just like shut myself off from everything, and I kind of like didn't want to do anything, but I kept like it was actually just so pathetic, to be honest. I was just so sorry for myself. when I could have gone out there and done so many things. Like recently I started dancing again, like just even like I could have done something, you know, but I just chose to feel sorry for myself, which is really embarrassing in hindsight. But anyways, yeah, just put yourself out there, even though sometimes it can be hard. Never love anyone more than yourself. That's a really big one for me as well. I find it hard, I think because I used to struggle so much with my self-worth. I used to put people on pedestals, and like I would just like love and adore them so much that like I always came second to them, and it's like they're putting themselves first and I'm putting them first, and like where do I even exist in the equation, you know? So that's like a really important thing. The importance of boundaries and self-respect. This is huge, like having self-respect. And it's like, you know, I used to think that like I had self-respect, but like I think people like subconsciously take on information about you and start to like slowly exploit that. So if they realize that you're gonna drop everything for them whenever, and go and help them or be there for them when they need, they're gonna like constantly like rely on you in those moments or anything. And it's just like, yeah, just like if you don't have boundaries and respect for yourself, like you're gonna get used pretty much. And I don't mean that like that people in like my past like intentionally used me. It's just like if you don't have that like boundary and respect for yourself, then like they're not going to, you know. So just like being more intentional with your time, yeah, your space even, just yeah, is super important. Oh, this one here, it is so important to cultivate self-compassion. This is really huge actually. I don't know what it was. I was in Malaysia at the beginning of this year, and honestly I think maybe it's just because I needed a holiday because I hadn't had one in a really long time. But just like I came back from that trip with so much like self-compassion, and it was just like the most fulfilling thing. Like I was just, yeah, I just felt so compassionate towards myself, and like it was just really like it just elevated my mood and just made me a more happier, brighter person in general. So like, yeah, cultivating self-compassion I think is really important. And then tying into that like withdrawing type thing, find ways to connect with people when feeling isolated. I think that's super important. And then over to my important in my purple like terrible block writing. Remember, not everyone has your best interests at heart. Be selective with who you share things with. This is a really bitter pill for me to swallow, and I wish it wasn't reality, but like I am the type of person where if somebody like who's close to me that I love like needs something or wants something and it would be to my detriment, I would be like, that's okay, like you do it, like I'm so happy for you. I can't think of something right now like to use as an example, but I hope you get what I mean. Whereas if the roles were reversed, I've had friendships and relationships where it's like, not that they would actually, now that I think about it, would that mean that they would have to do something that's in, no, actually that's not true. Because yeah, if something was in my best interest and they could just choose not to advise, well, not that it's anyone's responsibility to be there for you in any way, but yeah, just some people don't have your best interest at heart, and it's really fucking sad. Especially if you love them and they claim they love you, but they really don't want what's best for you. So it's just very contradictory, isn't it? Remember to ask people questions, check up on them, and let your loved ones know they're loved. That's really important if you're like a type of person that withdraws a bit, which I do a bit. When needing to ground, use meditation or reread some philosophy favorites in order to gain perspective and remember the bigger picture. Yeah, this is like really, I think, a really grounding thing that I do for myself personally. I love philosophy, and I just find it so refreshing, and it just kind of like everything that goes on in my mind and like trying to like place things and understand things, it just really brings me peace and like enriches my view and perspective, because we're obviously always constantly learning and growing, and it's so nice to read like different perspectives on like a certain outcome, or just different outlooks on life. Pretty much, it's like really refreshing, but then it kind of makes it hard for me because I'm like, I don't know where I stand now, because I've read so many different philosophers that have like a different ethos, and I see how each way of living life is really like fruitful, and I understand the logic behind each different one, and I'm like, well, what suits me, you know, like what is my personal philosophy? Like it used to be very, very set, but like I think I've changed a bit, so now it's like changing. But maybe I'll make a video about that, about my own personal philosophy when I've found my new one, I guess. And creative outlets are important to you. Draw, paint, write, or work on podcasts. I was doing that like years ago, and I never ended up actually doing it, so I don't know. Work on podcast, okay, I don't know why I was thinking that at the beginning of this year, but I'm doing this instead. So yeah, so they are my life lessons that I've learned at 22, and yeah, even though they're like kind of obvious and like you hear them often, I think it's like nice when I think, even though I think there's a different, like you can hear that advice commonly spoken, but it's a different thing once you've experienced and implemented the change that needs to occur, or like become aware of that behavior in your life itself. Because sometimes you can think, oh, like I'm not that bad, or it's not that severe, it doesn't impact my life that much, until you realize you really have to change things up because things aren't working for you, and you go, wow, that advice does really actually apply to my life, and how to implement it. And then when you implement it, I think that advice, like for me personally, like really sticks. Like it doesn't sound so like cliche and like over said, when it like actually makes an impact. But yeah, I hope it's helpful. So thanks so much for watching. Bye.